This is the percent test review. You need to have this worksheet out. It looks very much like the test that you're going to be taking. These are applications of how we use percent in the real world. So, number one, I'm going to do some of these right now in the review, and some of them I'm going to leave for you to do, and then we will do another similar review in class tomorrow, so you'll be ready for this upcoming test. Mrs. Agulia, Mrs. Penner, and Mrs. Cohen went out to eat. Mrs. Agulia's order was $8.68, Mrs. Penner's order was $9.25, and Mrs. Cohen's order was $7.22. They decided to leave a 15% tip for the waiter. How big of a tip should they leave? Round your answer to the nearest cent. Okay, so first thing I need to know is what was the total of all of their bills. So I would have to add Mrs. Agulia's and Mrs. Penner's and Mrs. Cohen's orders all together. So adding these up, the $8.68, the $9.25, and $7.22, I get $25.15. So they want to leave a 15% tip for the waiter. So I'm going to bar model these as well, just to show you that maybe that would help, and if you need to bar model on the test, that would be great as well. So the whole amount, I know, it's the $25.15. I want to leave 15% of this. So I'm trying to find part of the total, which is $25.15. Well, 15% changed to a decimal would be, because I'm only finding part of this. I have the total, $25.15, I'm trying to find part of it. 15% of $25.15 would leave a tip of $3.77. Well, if you keep multiplying, comes out to be 3 and 7,725 10,000ths. Round to the nearest cent. Well, the cent is the hundredths place, which would give you $3.77. And yes, I am going to sable these. So the tip they should leave is $3.77. And probably in the real world they might round that up to $4. But 15% is $3.77 to the nearest cent. I'm going to work on number 3 since it's up here on the board on the side here. Instead of going to number 2, I'll get to that. During the 1991 ice storm, the price of milk was marked up by 30%. If milk was $2.10, how much was it after the markup? Well, the total price of milk was $2.10. That's what it was. That's all 100% of it. Then it was marked up. So I've got to find another 30% of this and add them together. So I could have the new total. What's the total? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What's the new cost of milk? If it was 100% was $2.10, and then another 30% is added onto it. So 2 ways I could do this. I could do method 1, which says take that 30%, change it to a decimal, which would be 3/10 times 210, and find just the markup to start with. That's 63 cents. Now I know that's not the new price of the milk because it's got to be marked up that 63 cents. So I have to add on that 63 cents, which gives me a new total or a new price of $2.73. That's method 1 way of doing it. Method 2 way says, hey, look at this picture, this bar model. I am going to pay all $2.10 plus another 30% more, so all 100% of that $2.10 plus another 30% more, which means I could use the percent 130%. This is method 2. So changing that to a decimal, I would have 1 3/10 times that 210, which would give me that new price of $2.73 when I multiply by the 130%. How much was it after the markup? Well, milk now cost, or after the markup, you could say, $2.73. Yes, it went up in price. So milk now costs $2.73. Number 2. Mrs. Smith was excited when she received the 30% off Kohl's coupon in the mail. If she found a pair of pants for $26.50, write an equation to represent the sale price of the pants. Equation and sale price. So what's it going to cost Mrs. Smith, who has a 30% off coupon, to buy a pair of pants for $26.50? So if I bar modeled just that part of it, the total cost, this whole bar, the pants cost $26.50. I've got or Mrs. Smith has a 30% off coupon, which means she's going to pay 70% of this. Because literally that coupon, and you can think of it this way, 30% of this $26.50 is going to come off the price of those pair of slacks or pants. So her cost, what is her sale price, her new total cost to her would be 70% of that $26.50. That would be the equation that I would use. If you're taking 30% off, you're paying 70%. So solve the equation that you wrote in Part A to find the sale price. I'm going to leave this Part B for you to do now. So find 70% of $26.50 and then sable this question. Number 4, Mr. Ove deposited $2,400 in a bank account that earns 1 5/10% interest for 1 year. How much interest will Mr. Ove earn? Well, if I bar modeled this, he's got $2,400 in his account. So that's what the bar is worth. All of this is worth $2,400. He's going to earn only 1 5/10%. So that itty bitty little teeny tiny part right there, maybe I'll use another color so it stands out a little better. This little tiny sliver is 1 5/10%. Tiny, tiny, tiny amount. 1 5/10, 1.5%, that's all he's earning. How much interest will Mr. Ove earn? Well, if I change my 1.5% to a decimal, I get 15 thousandths, moving it back to, times that $2,400. It's not going to be very much. That 1.5% in 1 year, he's going to earn $36. That's it. So, how much money will Mr. Ove now have in his account at the end of the 1 year? Well, he started with the $2,400 and he added to it that $36, which was 1.5% interest. So now his account is going to be worth $2,436. So Mr. Ove will have $2,436 in his account. Next question, number 5. There are 99 students participating in the ASSET program. This represents 45% of the 8th grade students. Well, I know 99 is not all of the 8th graders we have here at Martha Brown. How many 8th grade students are there altogether? So it's asking me to find a total. I don't know the total. I don't know what the bar represents as a total. I only know that a little less than half, 45% of it is 99 students. So there's another 55% that don't do the asset program. So it's asking me, how many is there altogether? What's the total? How many total students are in 8th grade? Well, I know that 45%, if I change that to a decimal, 45% of what number here, of the total that I'm trying to figure out, equals those 99 students. So I have part of the 8th grade class. The 99 is the X, the part, which X usually is. 45% is the K, the rate of percent. I need to find the total, the original amount of students. I need to find the X. So instead of putting a question mark there, I'm going to put an X. 45 hundredths of what number, 45% of what total 8th grade students equals 99? What is the total? This is a divide question. Usually when they ask you total or what's the original, that's asking original, they're asking you to find X. They're asking you to do a division problem. There is one like this on the test. So pay attention. What if I don't know the total? You're going to have to divide to get that total. So my X ends up being 220 when I divide that. Yeah, that seems reasonable that there's 220 8th graders. I bet there is. So how many 8th grade students are there? There are 220 8th grade students. So you will see a question where you have to find the original amount or the total, and you're going to have to divide like this on the test. There are 8 questions on the test, just like there are 8 questions on this review. Number 7, I'm going to go over to number 7. Mike earns a commission of 32%. Ooh, that's a good commission. How much commission will Mike earn on $9,375 in sales? He gets almost a third of it, right? A third is 33 1/3%. He's going to get about 1/3 of this $9,000. If I estimated that, my answer should be around $3,000, I bet. So let's bar model this to start with. Mike earns a commission rate of 32%. How much commission? So I know his total sales. So this bar represents $9,375 from one end to the other. He's going to get almost a third of that back, 32%. Guess I could make my bar a little bigger so I'm not writing so small. So this bar is worth $9,375. He's going to get about a third of it, which is 32%. What is 32% of? So I'm trying to find the part here. I don't know the part. Whereas in number 5, I knew part of the class was the 99 kids in the asset program. I don't know part of this. So when I'm asked, what is his commission, that's asking me what is the why, what is the part, what is the tax, that's asking me part of what you pay. When it's asking me what is the tip, it's asking me part of what you pay. Commission, when it's asking you what is the commission, what is part of the money that Mike's going to earn? He's going to earn part of this $9,375. So changing my percent to a decimal, I get 32 hundredths times 9,375. Then I'm going to let you finish that equation there. Go ahead and use your calculators, solve that, and write a SABLE for this answer. Put this in a full sentence, number 7. So I'm going to let you finish this one on your own. So pause the video and finish that question. Mr. Dunn estimated that 38 kids would volunteer for leaf raking, which is coming up on Veterans Day. 32 kids actually showed up. He thought a few more would show up, so his estimation was a little high. what was his percent of error? So Mr. Dunn estimated that 38 kids would show up. Only 32, which is just part of that. Only 32 kids showed up. What is his percent? Notice I don't have a percent in here. It's asking, what is his error? So I know that he oopsed by about 6 kids. He thought 6 more kids were going to come. Because 38 minus 32 gives me 6. So 6 is what percent of the actual kids that showed up. I'm going to let you finish this fraction, the actual kids that showed up. Change this fraction to a decimal and then round to the nearest percent. I'm also going to let you finish number 6, and we'll go over this in class. Make sure you sable this. So I started it, you finish it. Number 8. Betty and Mindy want to get matching earrings for a wedding that they are both in. Mindy found them at Macy's for $32.50, and she had a 20% off coupon. Betty found them at a little boutique for $40, but they were buy one, get the second one for 50% off. So buy one, get one for 50% off. Which store should they shop at? Macy's, they're $32 each. Now there's 2 people, Betty and Mindy. So I'm going to split my paper in 2 right now. Macy's, boutique. Because I have to compare. And there is a comparison question like this on the test. Mindy found them at Macy's for $32.50. Well, she's going to buy Mindy earrings for her and Betty. There's 2 people. So they're going to pay $32.50 for each of them, which adds up to $65, but she has a coupon for 20% off. So she's going to take, of this $65, she's going to take off 20% of it. So I'm going to use my other little color here. She's going to take this part off. So she's not paying $65. She's going to take 20% off. So if I take 20% and change it to a decimal, I get 2/10 times the $65 that the 2 earrings would cost, and that's a savings of $13. Her discount, her 20% off is $13. So 65 minus 13 would mean that Mindy would buy them for $52. That's 2 pairs of earrings. Would cost $52. Betty found them at a little boutique for $40, but they were buy one, get the second one for 50% off. So it's $40 plus half of the $40. I bet you all know that I changed my 50%, which is easy, to 1/2. So at the boutique, she doesn't have a coupon or any, other savings. It's buy one, get one for 50% off. So she's going to pay $40 for 1 pair and half of $40 for the second pair. So she's going to pay $20 for that pair. So at the boutique, they would cost 2 pairs for $60. Well, that's not a better buy. It's a better buy to buy them at Macy's. So the girls, they should shop at Macy's. Now the other ones that I had for you to finish up, make sure you go ahead and finish those up, and then we'll go over them in class.